Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Krashy, and today I'm going to be diving into the most recent video coming out from Inder. It's called Addressing the Concerning State of Pokemon Unite. I got a couple of DMs and messages asking if I had seen the video, and I actually hadn't. I did see Spraggles's video kind of covering like the most recent balance patch, but I want to go ahead and dive into this one on my first viewing. And I'll probably pause, talk about it, and give some of my thoughts. So let's go ahead and dive into Inder's video. You can find the link to this in the description. Definitely go give him a follow, give him a subscription. He's a great guy, great player. And let's hear what he has to say about Pokemon Unite.
Hey YouTube, Inder here. I feel there's a need to address the current state of Pokemon Unite, as we are coming into another extremely disappointing update to the game. To start, Unite surpassed 100 million downloads at the end of 2022, which is an incredible feat in such a short amount of time.
Just to give a little bit more context on that, keep in mind 100 million downloads is literally just that. It's 100 million downloads. It doesn't mean that it's 100 million unique players. It doesn't mean that there's 100 million unique active players or daily active users. That's actually a metric that gets measured a lot, daily active users. I would estimate it's far, far lower than that. So just to give my little bit of context, that said, 100 million downloads is crazy. It means, what 100 million downloads means is that the game had insane potential for retention. And I don't think that it nailed it at all. Nobody has numbers. Nobody has metrics. Sometimes I've thought, maybe this player base has 1 million active users, maybe 500,000 daily active users. I don't know, but in some regions you can definitely tell it's a lot smaller. In regions like North America, you can't really tell at all because you sometimes will run into similar people, but it's not too often. But even then, it's like often enough. So I don't know. Something tells me the game and this is a huge range, is probably anywhere between 100,000 to 500,000 daily active users. And that 500,000 number may be way, way too high. I don't know. It could be too low because there's also people that play standards. There's also people that play bot matches. There's people that play quick play. So it's really, really hard to estimate. So just my thoughts on that.
Direction of Pokemon Unite has been questionable at times, but
Agreed.
most Unite players have been able to put that aside for the game's promising gameplay and the potential of what this game can be.
That's the key part right there.
But right now, the frustration levels seem to be rising within the community due to recent changes.
I actually want to read some of these. So let's see. Okay. Vaporeon, ain't nothing going to be balanced until you nerf Urshifu and Zacian. Artway, you guys really need to listen to your community because this is getting ridiculous. Nerf Zacian, nerf Urshifu. Glaceon doesn't need any buffs. Comfy Lapras, blah, 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 blah. Phil Umus, do y'all have a focus group for the balance of the game or high level council? A lot of other MOBAs could make patches more smooth and get problems sorted out quicker. Rixel pick, are you guys trying to kill your game? What a tone deaf patch, no nerfs to Zacian. So I'm seeing a really interesting theme. The funniest thing is that it definitely seems like balance of some of these Pokemon have been the straw that broke the camel's back, because I'm seeing a consistent thing where the balance is bad, don't get me wrong, and I'm happy that this is happening because it's like waking people up to the issues, but that's not even the biggest issue. But it doesn't actually seem like most people care about the biggest issue, which is having like a solid rank system that's good for retention. Like a lot of these players, and this is just my observation, so many Unite players don't actually care if the game is like objectively good or hard from a rank perspective. They just want the game to feel fun and be Pokemon, and I'm seeing that more than ever. So I think like a lot of the hate and the like frustrations people had with me, it becomes incredibly justified because you can see the trend of people not really giving a shit about ranked, right? Like nobody's like, oh my god, your ranked mode is so bad, which is my number one concern even now. I think the balance issues that we're seeing now is more of a testament to how much they really don't care. Like they really don't care if they don't even do the balance, because that's like the bare minimum, because they already were giving the bare minimum. So it's really, really interesting to see the outcry is mostly focused on the balance, but it's not that interesting to see because it's kind of what you expect whenever they don't nerf Urshifu and Zacian for months and they just literally ruin the game. I mean, so what you had was a game that wasn't very good, but at least it had decent balance, and now you have a game that's not very good, but it has terrible balance. So that's what's, like I said, the straw that's breaking the camel's back. So yeah, I mean, all of these are about nerfs, right? Like every single one of them. So it's really, really interesting.
Changes regarding the balance of Pokemon Unite. Most notably, the Zacian release.
Yep.
A Pokemon that has plagued players through the multiverse of Pokemon content, whether it's the mainline games or the trading card game.
That's
this
pretty
character
interesting.
has wreaked havoc across the Pokemon series.
You think
for
that's the whole
several
point?
years.
Is that actually the
Unite
point?
is no exception. On release and to this date, this Pokemon outstats all its counterparts in every component.
That's
Whether it be
crazy.
offense, defense,
No
mobility.
way. Wait, does it have more defense than some defenders? Surely not, right? No, not particularly, but just like across the board, it outstats. It out defenses Crustle. It out defenses Crustle. It has more health than Crustle. Ah, that's so disgusting. I mean, keep in mind, I've never looked at this. I mean, I heard, right? Like I heard, oh, it's, you know, it's level 7 stats or its level 1 stats are the same as Gren level 7, which is fucked up. But dude, it literally outstats a tank. That's so weird. Why? Just why?
It'd be offense, defense.
That's
mobility,
crazy. That's actually
to the
insane.
point where this character is so strong, tournament organizers of the official circuit
Yep.
have deemed this Pokemon too overpowered for tournament play. Not only is this unique to Unite, but to my knowledge, this is unique to esports in general. In my 10 plus years of playing competitive games and being surrounded with competitive games, I have never seen a game developer release a character so strong that their own first party esports deemed the character too powerful for tournament play.
I want to say I think it happened in League once. I'm pretty positive there was one champion. I don't remember who it was. Or it was HOTS. I want to say that this happened at least once, but the point being, it's unprecedented, right? Like you're not supposed to release something so broken that your own official esports program bans it, and then you don't then address it at least shortly after, right? And that's the point. A lot of what Inder has had problems with this game is something that I said really early on, and I was completely in agreement with him, is that competitive and ranked are completely different games. And that causes a couple of problems. One, ranked is just bad. It's just bad. You have mirror matches. Everybody's going to play the top end of meta. In competitive, you have exhaustions. At least it's banned, but it's running rampant. And you have emblems. And so like emblems are a cool system. I mean, it's a bad system, but it's cool, right? You get to mess around with builds. But in competitive, you don't have it. So you have this disconnect between the two games with pick ban, no pick ban, and they're just completely different games. And so that's bad from a viewership standpoint because they're literally watching something that they don't even engage in. It's bad from that standpoint of like cohesion in the community because, you know, when you see a pro player do something, you kind of want to emulate it, or you learn from the way that they're drafting and you want to take that into your solo queue matches, or you understand the builds that they're using and you want to use that as well. We're missing all of that. Like there's just no cohesion between competitive and ranked, and we literally have Unite Championship Series banning exhaustion because it's so overpowered, which is just, that's crazy. It is crazy.
What this means is that for 99% of the player base, they have to deal with a character in their games, whether you solo queue, duo, trio, or 5-stack. You have to expect to see this Pokemon frequently, and it being favored to win most of your games. That's not the only thing upsetting Unite players right now, though. The latest patch on May 10th, we were expecting several nerfs to problematic characters. Obviously, Zacian being one, but we were expecting nerfs to things like Comfey, Lapras, Espeon, or Shifu. So many of these characters that have been so strong for so long now. While we did see nerfs to Comfey, Lapras, and Espeon, kudos to them for making that change. Urshifu and Zacian both magically dodged any balance update.
Crazy.
Whether there's some level of corporate greed or incompetence or
negligence,
these Pokemon are legendaries, it's disappointing as both a competitive tournament player and a ranked mode enjoyer to see the.
Okay, so I want to touch on that. There was a lot to unpack there. Like whether it's greed, I think that like that as a strategy, right? Because I think this is a sentiment that gets thrown around. Oh, well, they're doing it because they can sell the Pokemon because they're really strong. I think that strategy is a really good strategy financially for like a company in a really short term or like a small period of time. And here's the reason why. New Pokemon comes out, it's really strong, people are enticed to buy it, they're already feeling the FOMO of not having it, they want to buy it, they see how well it's performing, boom, they buy it. But over time, slowly, actually, depending on how strong it is, it can happen pretty fast. But over time, people get frustrated with how strong that new thing is, and they demand change, right? And so I think that strategy works in the short term, where you release something strong and then you can nerf it down in, like, a little bit of time. But Zacian, for example, has been overpowered for like, what, 2 months or something, and it's doing nothing but causing frustration. So I think that strategy specifically doesn't really make sense to me. So I don't think it's that. I don't think it's particularly corporate greed. It could have started as corporate greed and them just like wanting to cash in on the fact that it's like this big shiny new legendary Pokemon that's incredibly overpowered. But leaving it this strong this long is actually doing a lot of harm. And you're seeing the systemic breakdown of the community, right? Like the degradation of the perception that this game is actually being handled well, or that Timmy Studios or Pokemon Company or Tencent have any sort of care for the players and what they want. You're seeing that literally diminish. And when players lose trust in their developers, that's bad. Like because now everything you do is under the microscope. And so I don't think it's that. Incompetence, maybe. I think that's highly likely, or just pure negligence, right? They just don't care. That's my train of thought personally. There's one more I want to touch on, but I think that they could be incompetent and just like literally just like they're doing their best and they actually just suck. That's a high likely, like a high possibility. I think that would be really sad, because as crazy as it is, they built an amazing game. They just don't know how to run it, which is, again, so weird that they could build something so great and then not literally know how to maintain it. But negligence to me feels more up the alley of truth. And the reason why is that the Pokemon Company doesn't need money from this game. This game doesn't even need to exist for the Pokemon Company. So the Pokemon Company doesn't care. I promise you that. They don't need to care. Tencent, they're definitely not the company that's looking out for the player, right? Like, I mean, Tencent's awful as far as any kind of research that you can do about their business practices or the way that they conduct their company. I don't think you're going to find a lot of good things. So I wouldn't hold my breath on Tencent looking out for us. And Timmy Studios is simply just the vehicle, right? They're simply just the ones that put it all together and do what they're told. They don't really have a lot of choice. So I would say it's negligence from the Pokemon Company, because they just simply don't really care that much, and it's probably greed and negligence from Tencent to just push this game as hard as they can on gem locking, monetization, and skins. And who's actually calling the shots on patches and buffs and this, that, the other? I don't know, but they're not doing a good job. Now, the last thought that Ender threw out was legendary Pokemon. Oh, they're legendaries. I kind of get that, right? If you really want to play into the theme of Pokemon Unite and Pokemon as an IP, I kind of get it, but it ruins the game. So again, I think that's if that is that train of thought, like, oh, we have to make these strong because they're legendaries. It's just incompetent, right? That's incompetence at the highest degree, because it just ruins the game. This is a competitive game. You can't have that, right? Like, I don't care if Pikachu is, or Riolu or whatever is baby Pokemon, right? That's what I was trying to get at. I don't care if there's a baby Pokemon fighting up against Rayquaza, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Or like a legendary bird, or like a Zacian. Like, it doesn't matter. It's a game, and it's a competitive game. So
these characters run rampant in my games. Now, if the lack of nerfs wasn't enough, there's still so much more to go. Tournament play has seen characters banned for many reasons. Like I mentioned, Zacian was banned and is still banned for how strong it is. But we've had plenty of characters this season be banned simply for bugged movesets or just bugged kits overall. The year started with Scyther being bugged, which is an already really strong character and had the ability to reset its moves more than intended. All while it was allowed in ranked gameplay, it was banned from tournament play. That's the big point right there, right? Like, the UCS has been taking really aggressive positioning when it comes to banning Pokemon that are bugged or have issues. And again, I think the irony is just seeing the gigantic split between UCS and competitive play and solo queue, or even just ranked play. I don't even need to say solo queue, but ranked play. But for the sake of me being me and me bringing up the things that I care about, I'm going to say solo queue, right? Think about yourself as a solo queue player and all of the games that you have and all of the issues that you have with the matchmaking and the rank system and the mirror match picks and the overpowered Pokemon and all of these things that are allowed into the game. And think about the contrast, the complete difference between how we play the game and how, say, Indy plays the game whenever he's on his team playing and competing in tournaments.
Dude, it's not even just a different game. It's a different fucking universe. They're playing at such a different level, both skill-wise and the outcomes of the matches, but also the environment that they're put in. And, the beauty of ranked in most games is that it's meant to test you, right? Well, we know that Pokemon Unite doesn't do that. But not only is it meant to test you, it's meant to be like a smaller like emulation of what the pro scene is doing. And you feel engaged and you feel involved and you feel like you're learning and improving and fighting, and it's fun. And that is all the things that Pokemon Unite lacks. Again, I'm seeing this trend of people just being frustrated because the balance is out of whack, but they're not even frustrated at the ranked mode. And the ranked mode is by far a bigger issue than Zacian and Urshifu. Because I'm here to tell you now, even if the balance was terrible, if I had something to grind, I would never have quit this game to begin with. If I had a solo ladder, I would be grinding it. And if it had pick ban, I'd be banning Urshifu and banning Zacian. All of these things are manageable issues. The problem is that the game does not give you a reason to play it. That's the real problem. Now, I'm the asshole again because, you know what I mean? Here I am talking about these same issues and everybody else is just pissed about the balance. But I promise you that these are the true issues, and the balance is bad. The balance is so bad that it exacerbates, sorry, I had to get there. It exacerbates the issues, and it makes everything worse because that one little thing or those two little things, or maybe that, that little smidge of hope you had for the game is now being squandered. And so, yeah, there's a lot that this game needs. But watching the difference between UCS and ranked, it's unfathomably different.
Other than that, we've seen Cramorant, Blastoise, Clefable, Delphox, Sableye, Glaceon all have moveset bans or complete bans due to bugs with their gameplay mechanics. Glaceon in particular was recently bugged, making Icicle Spear do additional damage to wild Pokemon, which resulted in it being banned from tournament play. The most recent patch on May 10th did 3 things for this character, none of which are things people are happy about.
True.
1. It improved the Icicle Spear moveset by giving it more damage and buffing Ice Shard, which is a common move seen paired with it. Number 2, the bug was not fixed, and we now know that this Pokemon deals basically double damage to all wild Pokemon throughout the entire game.
That's crazy. I did not know that.
Quasar, all the jungle buffs, all the wild Pokemon in every path, it's doing double the damage.
It's gonna get bugged. It's gonna get nerfed or
and number 3,
banned in UCS.
Despite it being bugged and despite it doing even more damage now, the character was unbanned from tournament play.
What?
It might get rebanned. We're not really entirely
It'll probably
sure,
get rebanned.
but these changes make no sense. Especially
I
the
agree.
buffs, considering the moveset saw play in the biggest European tournament by the winners of the tournament, the Eos Cup European champions, and right afterwards, shortly after, it was banned because of the bug. And what we were expecting was a bug fix.
That's
as we
crazy,
should.
dude.
Maybe a nerf, but probably no changes to the character, and somehow what we got was so much worse. I could go on and on about bugs. Like I said, so many different characters have been bugged this year alone and prevented from tournament play, but allowed in ranked play, which is the crux of this issue. But I'll end off this segment with a Cramorant bug that has yet to be fixed.
Dude, what is the Cramorant bug? I actually don't know what it is. Oh.
Thankfully, it's still banned from tournament play, but Cramorant is able to reliably double the damage from its passive by using its boosted attack at the same time it takes damage, triggering 2 fishes as opposed to 1, essentially doubling.
I just saw a lot of damage, yeah. I didn't even know what happened.
This bug at times can be coupled with another bug that allows these fishes to infinitely bounce between 2 targets and instantly take them down. The next and most disappointing change for me comes as a Unite player who loves taking advantage of gameplay mechanics to draw an edge over my opponents. A few months ago, we lost the ability to quick jump.
Yeah,
which, as a reminder, allowed you to.
I'm gonna talk about quick jump really quickly. Quick jump to me felt like one of the few like moments in a game where you could let your skill shine, and it truly felt like you had some agency over the game. And don't get me wrong, there's other moments too, but it's one of the few where, oh my God, there's a guy, he's about to score a quick jump, right? And then they got rid of that. And it's just like, why, dude? Why?
Take the base jump pad faster than intended by inputting a movement action and pre-selecting your destination. While this change was a bit more controversial, as it is easier to do on Switch than mobile, players who were able to consistently pull it off felt rewarded in their gameplay.
Yep.
And it is still a change that I, along with other players, deeply miss.
Agreed.
I do understand the reason for the change. If mobile players aren't able to do it, having a platform have a simple gameplay advantage is not fair. I would have liked to see them kind of implement this into the game, or at least buff the jump speed.
Yeah, just make the jump speed faster.
Both platforms to
like
kind
by
of
default
compensate for this change.
Make it an actual feature.
Regardless, the most recent change applies to all platforms equally and is centered around vision and Pokemon Unite. Before the most recent patch, if a player was standing on one of their goal zones, a dome would light up, indicating they're receiving a shield. This dome was visible to enemy players globally and was used to help scout defenses, look for backcaps, and overall gain more information if the effort was put in. As a result, players would be sneaky and intentionally hide in bushes or away from their goal zones, anticipating their opponents being privy to that knowledge. It really rewarded players who wanted to go above and beyond, and it was a mechanic that you couldn't always take advantage of. In the heat of a team fight, when you're focused on your character's abilities, it's difficult to pan over to an enemy goal zone to see if an enemy is coming from that pad or which angle they're taking. So it really rewarded players who were able to do more during a game, and it rewarded players who were just simply privy to this knowledge, which,
I'll be honest, I don't really care about this that much. Although I do agree with him. I just don't personally care that much because, like in solo queue, you're not really using that information to make a ton of like positive plays. Like you can, but I think this is like very, very competitively focused. And again, don't get me wrong, you can use this information every single game. It's just I don't think it's nearly as applicable, or like the situation arises nearly as much as in competitive, or it doesn't have as much of a an impact using the knowledge to then try to get some value out of it. But that aside, it's one of those things that was in the game that was like, it was fine, so don't change it, when there's a lot of other shit that needs changing. So
it's pretty standard across games of this genre. But now this mechanic has been removed. It's been replaced with the dome only being visible to your opponents if you're within physical range of it. A change that I don't think many people are very happy with.
Nope.
Similarly, players used to be able to pan their camera to the enemy jump pad in their home base to see when it was being activated. Since the removal of quick jump, this has been a very important tool to understand when your opponent is taking the jump pad. The jump pad is slow enough that if you see it being activated, you have enough time to stop your cap and not get stunned by an opponent player jumping on top of you.
There's like no
addition,
CC
you could use this information to know
counterplay
when
now.
Someone's left their base, if they've jumped mid,
For the
if
jump
they're
pads.
going to the top side. You could couple this with the other change with the domes to see which lane or which path they jump to. And it provided more information simply to allow for more skill expression within the game. This mechanic has also been removed. The direction of Pokemon Unite is disappointing. As a competitive player, I want there to be skill expression in the game. I want to be able to achieve towards being great, and I want to help inspire another generation of players who look to expand their gameplay and their game knowledge. But with every patch, it's becoming increasingly frustrating to live up to this dream. Whether it's just picking the best character of the patch, abusing damage bugs, or the removal of gameplay mechanics, or in the most recent case, all of the above, players are not happy with the direction of this game. I know there's a lot to talk about, whether it's matchmaking or ladder, quality of life, but these are the things that impact the core gameplay loop the most, which has been the one promising thing of Pokemon Unite.
So I agree with that. I think he nailed the final sentiments really, really well. And I appreciate that throw in, to be honest, because he said, I know there's a lot of other things to talk about, right? Like he doesn't really need to make a video talking about like, why are we in season 11 with no pick ban in ranked? Why are we doing all these things? He doesn't really need to talk about those things because his biggest concern is just preserving the one thing the game had, and that was gameplay. And to be honest, the gameplay is degrading. Like we don't have quick jumps anymore. You don't have vision of the jump pads. You don't get the domes to see and scout for defenses. So the gameplay is actually getting worse technically. But on top of that, you have debilitating balance issues, which also is actually the biggest issue when it comes to the general player base. Because again, I'm always going to be someone that bitches about the ranked mode because I want a reason to play, and I can deal with a lot of this. I'm like on the opposite end of this, right? Like I can actually deal with a lot of this shit because I want to grind something. But for me, playing the game, even if the gameplay is amazing and great, it just is pointless when there's nothing to grind for. Other people are the other way around, where they don't really care about the grind nearly as much. They just want the gameplay to be great, but now they're getting their issues are kind of coming to the forefront more, where my issues were at the forefront in the past and still are. And they're kind of feeling the same way that I felt, where it's like, okay, what the fuck's going on, right? Like, what's going on with this game where the thing that was working or the thing that was good is now getting worse and worse and worse? And balance for like the average player, that's going to be the thing that does it, right? Because the average player maybe isn't that good, or maybe they're not really that concerned with the grind, or they're content with what the game is. But when they get stomped by your Shifu game after game after game, and when they have Zacian Comfy game after game after game, and when Lapras is doing 100k damage in their face without taking any damage, it's gonna ruin their experience. So now what we're looking at here is the worst version of Pokemon Unite ever. And usually when you say that, like, oh, I don't think the game's ever been worse than it is now, sometimes it's true and sometimes it's an exaggeration, but we're actually looking at it. This is the most bugged version, the most removed skill aspects of the game version. This is the most unbalanced version, and then this is the most pointless to play version, my favorite personally, when it comes to talking about the ranked mode and the experience that we've ever had. Maybe Zapdos was slightly worse than Rayquaza, right? But other than that, this is the worst version that we've ever had in Pokemon Unite.
I'm closing this video off in hopes that it's not too late for Pokemon Unite,
it's not,
the developers and the publishers of this game, to see the error in their ways, to provide them with some feedback, and to hopefully revert some of the recent changes and to address the issues we are collectively grieving over. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.
Great video, Inder. Again, check out the link in the description. You can find it there. I completely agree. I mean, I think everything he said nails it, and then I wanted to add that little bit of extra context to just talk about their track record, to talk about the fact that I do think that it's complete negligence. I don't think they care. I don't think they're interested. I don't think they want to communicate. I don't think that they're going to change their ways. But for the sake of saying, let's all get our hopium masks on, right? Snort some hopium. The game's not beyond saving. You could do it. You could do it tomorrow. You know what I mean? Right now, if they're sitting at a round table, they could start planning the patch tomorrow and start making reasonable, meaningful changes. All of these things are fixable. Now, you've done irreparable damage to the player base. I can guarantee you that. You've lost people that will probably never come back. That's just facts. But you can bring some of them back. Make the right choice. Start developing the game with player feedback in mind. That's number one, right? Because there's a lot of player feedback. Start making meaningful changes to rewards, to the free-to-play tickets and cosmetics that we can potentially unlock. Consider adding pick ban draft to ranked. Consider finding a way to fit in solo duo queue only, whether that's at the high end of the ladder or its own ladder entirely. Consider actually balancing your game, and like I said, just consider listening to player feedback. It's what we're here for. We want to play your game and we want to spend money on your game, but you're literally losing the faith and the trust of the players, and it's a shame to watch the game go down this path. And it's been a shame for me, honestly, for well over a year to see the game get to this point. I got to be honest. There's definitely a bittersweetness to being able to say that I told you so, but it's like the fucking Christopher Nolan Batman movie with Alfred and Bruce Wayne. It's like when it finally gets here and I can say I told you so, I don't even really want to, because it just sucks, right? For Indy, for Chris, for Spraggles, for Teeds, for so many others who are much more invested these days than I am. I feel bad for them because I want better for them, because I know that I want better for myself, and I still do, right? I would love to be full-time Unite creator again. I'm not really, but the game just doesn't support it for me. So, friends, that's where I'm gonna leave it. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the Krashy channel for future Pokemon Unite content. As always, be sure to be kind to one another. Tell someone you love them. And I'll see you on the next video.